Hi guys! A lot of people who've watched my videos have asked me, how do I make my yard grow so easily? It seems really easy looking at my yard. Well, it wasn't always that way. When I first bought the house, it was really just a lot of sand, but I learned very quickly that for free, you can actually take your yard from what you're seeing right now, which is just a lot of white sand, to rich, deep compost. And I didn't have to pay anything for that. So there's several ways I go about doing this, and I'm going to walk you through about 5 different methods I have for bringing in fertility into my yard that costs nothing. So follow along on this journey and we'll take a look at different ways you can make your yard very easy to grow in. So this next area I'm going to show you really is where my coop is now. I had a huge truckload of leaf litter brought in, and I actually cooked this compost. It was my first time trying that. And I had a truckload of compost dumped here. It's not even compost. It was leaf litter. So you can see that down about maybe a half of a foot is the plain sand. And the sand is actually getting darker. That's actually here it's down maybe, I don't know, 4 inches. The sand used to be white sand. Now it's really a dark sand. And you can tell here, this top part is very recent compost. And this area underneath is really starting to turn into dirt. It's a compost that is useful to me. This whole area, it was about 4 foot higher. And all along here, this whole area had a lot of really nothing. Nothing was planted here. So it was really easy for me just to have the electric company back their truck up, and they just dumped it in a pile here, and I just spread it. I spread it out over about a period of 2 weeks. And I'm going to show you the before and after of how it really just, it used to be white sand, and now it's pretty rich. I'm going to show you right here also. So you can see the sand is about maybe 6 inches down. Little mamas. The mamas have to come running whenever I dig. I know, this is perfect, isn't it, Mama? Sometimes I dig just to let them eat some snacks. So that's pretty much how I got some fertility in this area. This is another area of my yard that had no fertility at all. So I needed to have overhead plants that I could put in, but not that tree that was going to block my view. Plus it was a water oak, so I had to get rid of it. I wanted to plant edibles, and I also wanted to plant things the chickens would eat, but also have some overhead plants that they could scatter underneath in case a hawk came by. So the area where I cooked the compost next to my chicken coop, I just started wheelbarrowing large amounts of compost. I probably put in about 6 inches, and you can see the compost right there in the picture behind the chickens. It was a perfect way to move it. Now I knew I was going to put bananas in this area, and bananas are extreme nitrogen users. They are heavy feeders. So I put compost down several times. I actually collect all my leaf litter and I use it in this area, and I really just pile it here under the banana trees. Now look at the video of how it looks now. So this area, I'll just kind of move this. I practiced chop and drop in this entire area. I brought in a bunch of leaf litter, and you can see the leaves. I basically drive around in pick up my neighbor's leaves. And especially, I don't even go out of town in March and April. And they take not very long. That's how they look right away. And then you can see down below is the sand. Try not to disturb that root. That's a root of probably a banana tree. but the sand is a good 6 inches below. So I get my neighbor's leaf litter all the time. They really love, these plants love leaf litter. It breaks down so fast. My chickens come back here in the evening and they just dig through it, use the bathroom. These other parts of the banana tree, these break down in no time. And so it just feeds the mycelium, and the mycelium runs sometimes 100 feet. And even though you'll feed it here, it will maybe serve a plant 100 feet away. So that's so exciting to me to think that the fertility in one area can be used to feed a lack of fertility and nutrients in another area. So here's an area that I have a lot of fertility in, and I will move that dirt all over my yard when it's time to enrich an area that I need to plant. So my chickens, they're meat birds. Meat birds are notoriously, they call them dirty birds. I don't like my chickens to have dirty little heinies, so I bring in leaf bags all the time, and I give it to the chickens. I put it down every single day. They love scratching in it. And I also bring them a lot of duckweed. And the duckweed then, as you can see the duckweed right here, and as it breaks down, you'll start seeing little bugs, little worms. So in the evening, I will allow my hens to go in there, and the hens have a field day tearing that area apart. Look at how rich it is with life. Look at all those bugs. The hens, when they go in there, they go completely nuts. And then they, in turn, fertilize the rest of the yard with poop, and that makes the nitrogen source get spread around. So this is the area that I use as my potting area. And my little ladies, you can see after I drop some mulch in the area, and it's really just tree trimmings from the electric company, look at what happens. The little mama will inevitably start digging for me, and that is so important. They mix it up constantly. Thank you, mama. Are you digging holes for me? They love hanging out in this area, and you can see there are holes everywhere where they've recently dug. Look at this cute little mama. Here are two little ladies working hard right now. Little butts in the air. Look at your little chicken booties. Oh, I love these chickens. So, I just recently got a large pile of mulch delivered. Every morning, my husband and I, we do about 30 minutes. It's like a little workout. He has his shovel and I have my shovel. Here is the pile of mulch. Oh, hello, mama. Hello, mama. I know, mama. So this is the little mulch pile. It's really tiny compared to where it was not too long ago. Because like I said, we take about, I don't know, it probably takes 5 hours to 10 hours for 2 people to put that out. But then you don't have to weed in the same amount of time you would have to weed. It's just so beautiful here. And the bumblebees are everywhere. Oh gosh, I love these bees. They're so beautiful. So I don't even spread it because my chickens are just gonna dig it up anyway. So I don't spread it, I just leave it in a little pile. The little ladies spread it out for me. And I'm gonna show you an area where I don't have it spread. This is where I just harvested a lot of the longevity spinach to give to my sister. Oh, and look at these. These are so pretty. Finally blooming. These make beautiful teas. We put this in our salad. It's called Cranberry Hibiscus. So if you look, you can tell where I stopped. This whole area has not been mulched. This is the old mulch. And let me just show you what it looks like. It's still got the sand all mixed in because the little ladies kindly dug it up for me. Look, she's coming to help me dig. Thank you, Mama. You work hard, don't you? And right here is where we have already just dumped the mulch in a pile. I have to move more in for sure. Once the little ladies mix it in, then it's dirt and it will easily grow. So I have to keep on adding to it since I have the chickens. But these are my Turk's caps. They are so delicious in salads. And look at how rich they are. I'm amazed the chickens don't eat them. They're so sweet. This is an area that has a lot of sand. You can tell I really need to get this covered. But when you look down below, this is mostly sand, but it's rich sand. It's got a lot of nutrient in it. And then this top part is still got leaves, some of them complete, fell off the tree. It's starting to really break down nicely. Now, like I said, because the chickens poop in it, I don't really have the major problem that people get. But I really need to put another several inches here. I mean, that's just plain dirt. This hasn't had any put in yet. I stopped right about here. So probably one more day we'll have this whole area done and covered. We put it right here and naturally they just throw it onto the drive. But I don't care because they're making my yard super nutrient dense, making it much easier for me. Look at my little mamas. Here's a little mama. There's my Roosty. That's Roosty. Roosty's gonna have a spa day soon. I give my chickens spa days. It's really a chance for me to look them over completely, make sure their feet are okay, check them for eyes, their ears, just make sure everything's copacetic. So we already dumped all the, it's so easy to take it right from that pile and throw it over here. So this area ends up very well covered. And you have to be careful not to put it, oh, there's a lizard. You have to be careful not to put it right up against your trees. My husband might not know that, so what I always do, I just go and I make sure to just pull it away from the roots. Give it about 6 inches of area to breathe. Oh, thank you, mamas. We just throw it on, dump the whole wheelbarrow on it. And then if you have a few weeds come through, who cares? In my case, the chickens will eat the weeds. I love watching these bees. All right. So, I try to practice the rules of permaculture. And that means you have extreme diversity and you don't let go of anything. You don't have any waste. And that makes complete sense. So the first thing you want to do is call your tree company in your area. Tell them that you would love to have some leaf litter delivered. Call your electric company. They have to pay money to a dump to get rid of their leaf litter. And it's awesome because it's not like the companies that cut down a whole tree. The electric company is usually just trimming branches. So the percentage of wood to leaf litter is much lower. And you want to have more leaf litter, less wood if you want it to break down faster. Call Starbucks and coffee shops and request coffee grounds. Most of the time they have to pay to get rid of that. So why shouldn't you have it for your garden? It actually makes your soil more acidic. That's really important for a lot of types of plants like blueberries. If you have chickens, that's so awesome. If you don't have chickens, try to get chickens. You would be amazed what they can do for your yard by spreading around all these nutrients. You want to identify lakes in your area And what I do is I actually go and get duckweed and dollarweed out of some canals that are right nearby. And they're areas that are not sprayed. I don't get anything from any yards or lake areas that are sprayed heavily. So just look and see if they have the plants that you know the county sprays for, and then don't get anything near that area. The duckweed's awesome if you have chickens because they absolutely love duckweed. If you live near the beach, take a garbage can and a pickup truck, borrow a friend's car or ask a friend to take you, and go get a lot of seaweed. You can mix that in. That's just more diversity. The goal is to have as many types of compost and products mixed into your dirt as possible. Plant extreme diversity. So if you want a bunch of fig trees, no problem. Just get different varieties. If you want to have a bunch of grapevines to give privacy on a fence, no problem. Plant 8 different varieties of grapevines. Obviously, they have to grow in your area, but generally you can find varieties that will grow just fine in your area. Never put out anything for your yard waste. Don't get rid of a single thing. If it's a plant that is a weed, if you're really bothered by it, you can either cook it in a hot compost pile, it will kill the seeds, or you can put it in one of those black compost bins and let it just cook in that for 6 months. It won't have any seeds that are viable at that point. Plant fast growing nitrogen fixers. So like in my yard, I plant moringa, and of course I have bananas. I just chop and drop those bananas, drop the branches right back on the ground. I mean, it's not exactly beautiful and manicured, but I'm not really going for that look anyway. I'm going for feeding myself for free. And I can pretty much do that at this point. Nitrogen fixers like moringa, green beans, but if you plant green beans as a nitrogen fixer, do yourself a favor and don't pick the actual bean, because if you take the beans, then you've taken the nitrogen. Call organic farms in your area. If you can find an organic farm that has rabbit poop, a cow farm, I guess they call those a ranch, ask them if you can come and muck out their stalls. But don't do it if it's not organic. Don't go to a big feedlot. I mean, that's worthless. You don't want to bring that into your yard if you're going to be eating the vegetables. If you fish or hunt, I fish all the time, and I clean pigs, that wild boar that my neighbors give me. What I do is I take the wild boars and I eviscerate, so you're basically getting the skin and the head and all of that off, and I bury that in my yard. Now I have to bury it kind of deep, deeper than probably most people, because my chickens dig pretty deep. But I put it down 3 to 4 feet, and then that's perfectly fine. And then you have to do this regularly. So get yourself a supply chain of this kind of stuff. Even if you have to trade, eventually when you can start growing things on your own, you'll be amazed at what people will give you for a dozen eggs or some flowers that they can eat, like those Turk's caps over there. I call my electric company guys and I say, hey guys, I have a bumper crop of eggs. I'd love to have a pile of mulch delivered. And no kidding, the very next day they show up with the mulch. And then of course, like if you might have to pay at first, but once you start growing a lot, you can renegotiate the deal and ask your, maybe the pig farmer down the road when you want to pick up their poop, or the cows or the horses, their manure. That's amazing, rich stuff. You mix that in with some leaf litter and you have a hot compost pile that cooks down in about 2 months at the most. If you really know how to keep the temperature right, you can have that cooked down in about a month. But the diversity is so important. You want to have a lot of diversity in permaculture. You want to have things that are vines, things that grow underground, like a food forest, just like a normal forest does. And then instead of having things that are non-edibles, this is a beautiful little curry plant. And it has edible leaves. That's a pineapple. Now I definitely have things to feed the bees all throughout. This is my little compost heap that we work on right now. But you gotta do what you can for your bees, that's for sure. I know I'm going on a tangent, but I'm all about feeding my little bumblebees. They have to eat too. And that's really what helps propagate your plants. Having these beautiful little bumblebees all over the place. All right, so I hope this really helped you learn what you can do to make your yard more fertile and rich. And I wish you the best. Take care, guys. Bye.